Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
Hey guys, and welcome to the WWE Podcast Mailbag here for just what is days away from WrestleMania 37 in Tampa, Florida at Raymond James Stadium. And we are here to answer your questions, take your emails, and answer them as best I can. WrestleMania, as I sit here and speak here, is, my goodness, 3 days away. WrestleMania is 3 days away. All year long we wait for this. And shaping up to be an interesting WrestleMania. Whether you love the card, hate the card, you always know in the back of your mind that there's that potential of unpredictability, that there could be a big return. And maybe even if you hate the card, at least you what may keep you watching the show is that feeling of unpredictability that WrestleMania brings. So whether you love the card or hate it, at least there is that. So we're going to get to the mailbag in just a second. But first, as a reminder of the rest of this week's schedule with our show, tomorrow is AEW and NXT with Mimi covering AEW, Zach covering NXT, and then on Friday is WWE Rivalries with Anthony DeMarco, maybe a From the Vault version, because what's going to be happening is on Friday, Mimi and Anthony DeMarco both are going to be joining me on Friday evening to talk about WrestleMania in its entirety. We're going to cover the entire card, give our thoughts and predictions. It's going to be a massive show Friday night. It'll come to you probably, towards midnight, I'm thinking. We'll probably have an hour, 2 hours discussion regarding WrestleMania, and I can't wait to have both of them on at the same time to be able to give our thoughts, predictions, and to be able to catch up. I don't think all three of us have ever done a show before, so that'll be coming to you Friday night. And again, it's a first time ever with all three of us on the same show at the same time. So it's going to be fun. So that's Friday night. Saturday night, of course, is WrestleMania review with YouTube's The Botch Guy. He'll be joining me on my show with a live show format on Blog Talk Radio. Now, I know my first show last night didn't go exactly as planned. That was something that I've resolved with Blog Talk Radio. It was not my fault, so there is that. I guess I get to point the finger and be really immature about it, but it really wasn't, and everything has been resolved. And then Sunday night is the exact same thing. We're going to be taking calls on Blog Talk Radio with YouTube's The Botch Guy. So, by the way, guys, if you haven't checked out his channel, I know that I plug it a lot. I only plug stuff that I really believe is worth plugging, okay? You need to check out the YouTube's The Botch Guy. It is just one of the most entertaining YouTube channels if you love wrestling. So check out the YouTube's The Botch Guy. But here's the number, right? So here's what you want to know. You want to know that we're going to be starting about half hour or so, maybe a little later after the pay-per-view ends. We don't have an exact time. It's going to depend on, obviously, when the pay-per-view ends. But just go to Blog Talk Radio and search out the WWE podcast, and you'll be able to get all of our shows. And the number for call-in is always the same. That number, if you want to write it down or put it in your phone, is 516-387-1443. So 516, I feel like like a late night infomercial show or something. 516-387-1443. So, again, guys, we'll be going live following the pay-per-view. Usually there is a bit of a 15, 20-minute delay between the show ending and us starting as we gather our notes, gather our thoughts, and get going. But that is going to be the case, and the format that the Botch Guy and I are going to be using is live call-in. And if we don't have any callers, cool. I know I'm not on Blog Talk Radio a whole lot, so I don't know how many people are going to follow me over here. So if we have callers, cool. If not, we're going to be doing a live review anyway about WrestleMania Night 1. So that's the plan on Saturday and Sunday night. So that's going to be a long, long 2 days for all of us that are in podcasting and video creation, everything else, but it's going to be a blast. Okay, well, let's start, guys. Let's start with a patron on patreon.com, because guess what? If you become a patron, you get an ad-free experience of all the shows. You get a shout-out on the show, and you get priority placement for the Mailbag show, meaning I answer your questions first. So that's exactly what Jim did here. And if you want to join Jim from New York and get yourself in line, get yourself an ad-free experience, get yourself ready for WrestleMania, head on over to Patreon at patreon.com/WWE podcast, and you'll get all that for just $1 a month. Okay, so here comes Jim in New York. Jim says, WrestleMania week thoughts. Last week in the Mailbag, you spoke of a favorite night a favorite night after WrestleMania Raws. One of my favorites is also one that I don't hear mentioned much. The night after Mania 14, one of my all-time favorites. HBK had just lost the world title to Stone Cold. We all knew he was injured, but we had no idea where the WWF was going from there. Trips came out and kicked HBK out of DX, then added the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac. What was amazing was that this was in the peak of the Monday Night War, and having X-Pac come over was huge. Sure, he was not the biggest member of the NWO, but he was the first guy to leave WWF for WCW and come back. He went off on WCW, specifically Bischoff, in an amazing promo. This was just such a memorable night for me. Okay, I know you have more, so I'll comment on that. You know what? I don't really talk about that. But I remember it very vividly. The promo from X-Pac was, yeah, it was colorful regarding Bischoff and WCW and where he'd just come from. And yeah, he was one of the first guys to come from WWF, go to WCW, and come back to the WWF. And yes, this was in the heart of the Monday Night War era. This was a really, really tense time between Monday Night Raw and Nitro. It was a very intense time, and I was all WWF. I was 100% WWF. I didn't even watch Nitro. I mean, if I had to glimpse at it, I mean, it was, just because there were commercials on USA Network, which I don't know why I remember a lot of the commercials from USA, but Castrol GTX. Anybody else remember how many? Castrol GTX. Castrol must have spent millions of dollars in advertising for product placement in the WWF Monday Night Raw program. I mean, I don't know why I remember Castrol GTX so damn much. Am I the only one? It's obviously a motor oil. I don't know. Castrol GTX. It's just one of those. Skittles was another big one. Snickers was another big one. I don't know. I've never really discussed, sponsors that were just obnoxious, repeat offenders on the USA Network as commercial breaks felt like they were every 10 minutes back then. Okay. Well, but no, I do remember that. And I do remember Stone Cold coming out, and making his statement, as they would now say, to Vince McMahon, where Vince told Stone Cold, we can do the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. And Vince McMahon gets a stunner. Vince McMahon gets a Stone Cold stunner. And if I recall correctly, in one of his documentaries, I think it was a VHS tape. Yes, VHS tape called Hell Yeah. He actually admitted that the belt that he had, the WWF Championship belt, it went from the Winged Eagle to this more updated version, was more circular. And Austin actually cut his chin on one of the jagged edges at the top of that circular belt, and said that, obviously he felt it needed a little bit more modification. And that's where, lo and behold, the Smoking Skull belt was born not that far after that. Okay, well, boy, you're bringing me back, Jim. You're bringing me way back to 98. Wow. Okay, so here we go. You go on to talk about a Kyle calamity. It seems every week in the mailbag we get a voice message from Kyle in New York, followed immediately by Kyle in Baltimore. Yeah, first of all, yes, I don't know how that happens. I just answer the voicemails in the order in which I received them. I have no idea how this happens. I feel like they are some kind of, they are collaborating with one another. I agree. But, okay. So you go on and say, I feel like it happens so much that you have to be doing this on purpose. I promise I'm not. I seriously am not. I really, really am not. What would be the benefit of that? I mean, just to group the Kyles together? It is, I swear to you, not by design. I promise it's really not. I mean, what's the benefit of that? I don't have one. It is not. I promise you, it is just the universe conspiring against me. So you say, I feel like it happens so much, you have to be doing this on purpose, but it's actually kind of funny. Yeah, well, I'm glad you find it funny. It's really just, it's not one way or the other. Okay, so you say, very bad Raw this week. Embarrassing for a go-home edition. But we have WrestleMania SmackDown. You have that in air quotes this Friday, so all is well. Finally, I could not go a week without giving my 2 cents on the WWE title match at Mania. Despite my thoughts the last few weeks on where it seemed like WWE was going, as I have mentioned in the past, it all comes down to the go-home Raw or SmackDown. This is where the WWE gives the result away most of the time. I was sitting there watching our champion once again not main eventing, or at least he was not in the 8 o'clock hour this week, and Drew once again in the main event, which would normally indicate a McIntyre win, but then Drew beat Corbin and looked strong and did not get beat up. Reverse momentum certainly now leans towards all of you who want Lashley to retain, so we shall see. The McIntyre mark in me is very nervous now. So you're saying you're really hoping that what you have, or what you've said, comes to pass, that our expectations for Mania are so low that it will far exceed them, and we'll all be actually pleased. Fingers crossed. Thanks again, and looking forward to all your content this week. Jim, thank you as always. But let me finally comment on your comments. Yeah, I mean, if you heard my Raw review, I wasn't thrilled with it either. It was just disappointing for a go-home show. I've actually learned to not have large expectations for a go-home show anymore, because we've learned that they don't matter to WWE, or at least that's how it's perceived by us. And maybe we were all spoiled children of the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era and all the star power. And this is the first year that outside of Edge, we have no Attitude Era or Ruthless Aggression stars returning for a match. So this is really the first new generation, nearly almost, if Edge didn't ruin my statement. But outside of Edge, this is the first all new generational WrestleMania with no Attitude Era or Ruthless Aggression stars to suck up the time. So that's maybe why it also feels underwhelming, is a mass amount of just lack in star power. But yeah, the go-home shows don't feel like go-home shows. If I showed you this, if I took this Monday Night Raw and I placed it just randomly throughout the year, you would never have any sense that this is a WrestleMania go-home show. Again, if you took the content out, that it's, all the WrestleMania pointing to the sign, all that. If you just took the content of itself, the tone, the feeling of it, nobody would have any clue this is a go-home show. They would say, it might be this looks like it might be a final show before a pay-per-view, but it can't be Mania, right? This is. I think we need to taper our expectations for go-home shows. I think that time has come and gone. I know I have, and I don't expect anything from. I don't even want to say it on Friday because it's not a thing. I'm just going to call it exactly what it is, and not put lipstick on a pig. It is SmackDown Friday. It's just SmackDown. That's all. WrestleMania SmackDown is not a thing. It's the SmackDown before WrestleMania. So if you want to rephrase it and flip the words, sure, I'll buy it. It's the SmackDown before WrestleMania. But it is not WrestleMania SmackDown. That is not a thing. That is not the name of a show. Okay? They have SmackDowns. They have Raws. They have NXT. They have pay-per-views, which consist of 12 different ones or more throughout the year. There's no such thing as WrestleMania SmackDown. So it's all in the branding, it's all in the marketing and trying to get people pumped for Mania. I understand, but WrestleMania SmackDown is not a real thing. So despite that, what they may tell you, Jim, thank you so much as always. Love hearing your thoughts, and as much as I love hearing your thoughts, I'm going to love hearing them next week. Because so really for everybody here, because next week I expect this mailbag to be just exploding with probably rants or praise or just thoughts in general, and it's going to be a wacky week next week as well. So, all right, so let's continue on here. This really isn't a crazy long mailbag show this week. I guess it's the calm before the storm. Okay, but let's get to Dennis. Dennis here says, first of all, I have to compliment one of your weekly attributes to your show. He makes great points. His name, and I hope I've gotten it right, is DJ Kuzmo. That is a better name than LA Knight. I hope you're all doing well. So first of all, yeah, shout out to DJ Kuzmo for sure. One of the biggest fans of the show. And he says, I have a problem with the 4-team tag team match being on SmackDown for the tag team belts. I'm hoping that they can actually find a way to having it on WrestleMania, the WrestleMania card, either Saturday or Sunday, because it would be great as a 4-tag team ladder match. Last WrestleMania ladder match was for the tag team championship. It was a single triple threat match, which I don't understand why. I just think it's ridiculous having this on SmackDown when it could possibly steal the show at WrestleMania. Well, Dennis, listen, I wholeheartedly agree with you about the tag team championships, just in general. Tag team championships have never, ever, 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 ever been a focal point or a real concern of Vince McMahon's. Never. You know how I know that? Can anyone tell me, and I'm being for real, and it might have happened, maybe. Anyone tell me the last time a tag team championship match has main evented anything? A Raw, a SmackDown, pay-per-view, for God's sakes? No, it's never, ever, to my knowledge. And again, there's been thousands and thousands and thousands of matches that I've watched over the years, and I'm sure maybe somewhere it can be dug up that, oh yeah, they did main event Raw this one time randomly in the middle of summer. Who knows? But I can't remember the last time a tag team championship match main evented anything. It's never the storyline woven through the show. It's never the hook to keep people watching the show, ever. So I really, am I surprised at this? No. We've seen tag team championship matches on pre-shows before. So am I surprised by this? No. In fact, it's just kind of par for the course. It's sad, and I feel like the tag team championships, number one, should be unified. I would do the same thing that the women have, but for the men. I think the women have it right. While their tag team division is weak, at least they have one single championship that the tag team, women's tag team division is shooting for, and that champion can float between brands. I think that makes complete sense. Those champions can float, makes complete sense. When you take the men's divisions and you split them into two and each give them a championship, you immediately devalue each championship by 50% because there's another one of them. Okay, so if you had one singles men's tag team championship, I think you'd be more, I was going to say more better. I don't like that phrase. People say that to me, and I'm like, I don't think that's the thing. You would immediately add value to the men's tag team division. You'd create a sense of urgency. It would create, I think, more value in that championship itself. Maybe they can just do a unified tag team championship. So my long way to say, I don't think this is really surprising for me. Certainly not to anybody that's been, keeping an eye on the tag team division. Sadly, we shouldn't keep I don't think we should keep our hopes up that WWE is going to put this on the main card or ever make it a real focal point of WWE. It just isn't. So thank you, Dennis, so much, and look forward to hearing from you after WrestleMania. All right. Terry from Springfield, Tennessee says, since Alexa Bliss said that this would be the end of the Legend Killer, wouldn't it be a good idea if they had a casket match at Mania, almost to symbolize the burial of the Legend Killer persona, or better yet, a buried alive match, because after the Inferno match, these are about the only routes you can take for a match, and since Randy couldn't kill the Fiend with fire, the next logical thing is to put him in a casket or bury him. Besides, we haven't seen a buried alive match in over a decade. I think it would be entertaining, but what are your thoughts? Thanks for reading my email again. Terry, thank you as always. Hope everything's going well over there in Springfield, Tennessee. So what's interesting, and I was waiting for it on Raw, and I've said it for weeks and weeks, and we've all speculated for weeks and weeks about what could the stipulation be for Randy Orton versus The Fiend. I've been speculating. I said that it should be just a plain no DQ match, because you could go so many different roads with just a plain no DQ match. It leaves so many possibilities open. No DQ. You can do anything, right? You don't have to, you're not beholden to a single stipulation that may restrict you from something you want to do, because no DQ covers everything. It's just one big blanket of do whatever you want, right? And they didn't do anything, to my knowledge, and I double checked. I don't think they put a single stipulation on this match. Nothing. It's just a straight up match. That's curious. That's very, very curious. They just went back to square one. After everything that the Randy Orton's done to The Fiend, and Alexa Bliss has done to Randy Orton, and The Fiend has done now to Randy Orton over the last couple of weeks since his return, which I completely disagree with, by the way. They should have waited till Mania. You're having a straight up just one-on-one match. Like, we're going to do just a wrestling match after you tried to kill me, right? Like, what is this? Now, I'm not going to completely crap on that right now, because we've seen last-minute changes before. We've seen last-minute, all of a sudden the ring announcer says, and this will be a no disqualification match. And all of a sudden the announcers are like, wait, what? What? They act all surprised. So this could be a last-minute change. And maybe they didn't know what to go with on Raw, and they wanted to buy themselves more time. So they just said, you know what, let's not put a stipulation on it. We can do it last minute. We can announce it on the pre-show. We can announce it on our social media pages. We can do it, a minute before and have the ring announcer tell us it's a no disqualification match. It's possible that's still the case. But assuming that it's just Randy Orton and The Fiend straight up in a wrestling match, what? I'm puzzled. I'm befuddled by that. You can't tell me that after everything that they've done that they're going backwards to a straight wrestling match. It's weird. I don't get it. And now they're, especially with Alexa Bliss, as you said, telling Randy Orton the Legend Killer is going to die at WrestleMania. One of the few words that are banned in wrestling, like death, die, kill. You don't say those. You just don't. I mentioned this on my show last night, my Raw review show. You don't mention those things because you can't ever deliver. It's never going to happen. So you don't ever say you're going to kill your opponent. Now, maybe we're not supposed to take Alexa Bliss's threat literally. Maybe we're supposed to take it metaphorically, that the personality, the Legend Killer persona of Randy Orton will die. Then we'll see a new Randy born. Maybe he joins The Fiend at WrestleMania. Who knows? But I will tell you right now, if this turns into a cinematic match that's behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff, the fans are going to lose their minds. And rightfully so. They're spending a ton of money to go there. And to see a cinematic match, a cinematic presentation, you could be sitting at home doing that. So, all right, Terry, thank you for your email. And I hope you call or email us back next week. Okay. Gustavo, he writes in. Gus says, hey, Matt, I just finished listening to your Monday Night Raw review. Another great review, by the way. And I just wanted to maybe answer your question about Charlotte Flair not being at WrestleMania this year. I speak Spanish, and I listened to Andrade's recent interview, And according to him, Charlotte was approached by WWE doctors and was told she was pregnant. He then said that she was told to go get the normal blood work done to confirm her pregnancy, and it was concluded she wasn't actually pregnant. Very strange, I know, but again, this is coming straight from Andrade, so I'm pretty sure it's credible. Okay, before I get to your next point, I believe you. No, I did hear that was the case with Charlotte. I didn't know that came directly from Andrade, so I'm glad we're getting it right from the horse's mouth. The source of information is very important, and Andrade is about as reliable as it gets. It's not hearsay. It's not third party. It's not on a random wrestling news website. Whatever. Take your pick. We all know the wrestling websites, news websites anyway. I'm glad we're confirming sources here, and it is very strange. Number one, what are the WWE doctors telling Charlotte she's pregnant for? Like, how does that come about? I mean, how does that happen? Was it from a urine test? Did somebody just have a hunch? How does that happen? I mean, shouldn't Charlotte be the one to know? Shouldn't Charlotte be the one to say, hey, guys, I missed my period. Whatever, I don't know. But again, perhaps it was just a routine test that may have yielded the pregnancy hormone in her results with the wellness policy they have. I would think maybe that's how it came to light that Charlotte may be pregnant. It's just weird that the doctors told her rather than Charlotte telling the WWE doctors, hey, I might be pregnant, but I'm going to go get blood work and confirm it. It's just weird to me. But it was confirmed she's not. So I guess then what the F is she not on WrestleMania for? I know she's getting over COVID. Again, not an excuse. You can build a storyline without being there. We've seen it before. We've seen it. Drew McIntyre did it. So he doesn't, she doesn't need to be there. And then if you're confirmed you're not pregnant, which can happen very quickly, why are you, again, not on the show? Not on WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year. You just returned a couple of months earlier, and now you're not on the biggest show of the year. You're not injured. You're not pregnant. You don't have COVID anymore. What the hell's going on? Which, again, there's something we don't know. Creative frustration, we don't know. And these are the unknowns as fans that we're blind to. You hear rumors, you hear innuendos, you hear wrestling news sites bait click, but we don't know, right? Like, we know this because it came from Andrade, and we'll take it at face value. But there's something bigger going on. Clearly, something bigger. You don't keep somebody named Charlotte Flair off of your biggest pay-per-view of the year if there wasn't a significant reason for it beyond what we've already heard and know. So I'll leave everyone to speculate as I create drama over the airwaves here. Okay. So your final point, you say, as far as this past Monday night, I did miss the part where a stipulation was announced for the Fiend and Randy Orton match, or you asked, did I miss the part where there was a stipulation added for Randy and the Fiend? Are we really just going to get a regular wrestling match between these two? I was actually interested in this match, but now I'm worried it's just going to be the Fiend no selling everything. Okay, well, Gus, I obviously just did answer that from a previous email, so I'm not going to rehash everything. I guess I answered it before I saw your question. But your point about the Fiend no selling everything is what I want to talk about quick. The Fiend no selling everything, I get it. That's what the Fiend is. He's this unbeatable, demonic, offspring of Bray Wyatt. He's all about retribution and revenge, and I get that. I understand that. And at the same time, the Fiend no selling everything, you reach a point where it gets it exposes the business, and it becomes eye-rolling. It does become, because like, how much can you do to somebody and have them no sell it before you go, okay, that was cool, but you've taken it too far. What I mean by that is Undertaker and Kane have no sold in their careers, but they're selective about it. They're strategic about when they no sell, or sell very little, or get hit with a finish and sit back up. I think of a perfect example, right? Undertaker would sell the hell out of a match for you. Very unselfish in the ring. But his character was such that he was the dead man. He was supposed to be an undead character, but you could still hurt him. He would, he could still be beat, but there were times where it was warranted that, he would summon these darker powers and he would no-sell. Again, an example I'm thinking about in my mind is, as I always talk about, the very first match I ever saw that is in my mind with WWE, Bad Blood 97, October, Kane's debut, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, first ever Hell in a Cell. And Shawn Michaels hits Undertaker with Sweet Chin Music. And you're thinking, oh my God, that's it. And Undertaker sells it perfectly and is laying there for like about 5 seconds and sits back up. You see, when you do it less, it means more. And with The Fiend, I'm concerned that they feel more equals more. And I think they have that math equation backwards. I think that less will be more with The Fiend. Now, am I saying that The Fiend should be like The Undertaker? No, I'm not. But I'm also not saying The Fiend should no-sell everything. Because you do damage when you reach a certain point of not selling something. Because then it starts to not just damage The Fiend's character, not just damage your opponent's character of now devaluing that individual's finish and their overall value, but really what you're hurting is the overall product itself, the actual wrestling product, the company by proxy. You are hurting the company and its perception when you reach a certain point. And I know that, kayfabe's dead. You know what? Yeah, it is. But I don't need to be reminded of it by your company that is producing a product I'm supposed to believe in. I don't need to be reminded that what I'm seeing isn't real. Okay, that yes, the curtain's been pulled back, but sometimes as fans, we like to kind of pull the curtain back again, right? And put it back where it belongs, because that's what gets us emotionally invested. So I know that went off on a tangent here, but The Fiend no selling, I would be very careful with The Fiend no selling everything. It has to be strategically done. He can't be invincible. That honestly will become a boring character, believe it or not. I know people say, what are you talking about? It'll be boring after a while. The Fiend no sells everything, because anytime he has a match with anyone, you're just going to go, well, he's going to no sell everything. So no, I don't really care. Right. So anyway. All right, Gus, thanks for your email. And as I've said in the past, looking forward to next week. Next week's going to be fun. All right. Don't have too many more emails here. I believe we have 2 emails left. All right. This one comes to us from Anthony, and he says, hi, hope all is well. So there's a lot of talk of the Fiend. I didn't read these emails clearly before I did this. So there's a lot of talk about the Fiend versus Randy Orton is going to be a squash match with the Fiend absolutely destroying Randy Orton. If that is true, what's your opinion on that decision? I personally like it because I feel like it was losing. I feel like this is a long time coming, and it would be a good thing to have a new Fiend look be unstoppable, and a good way to end his long story with the Fiend. Just finishing off Randy after everything. Take care. Anthony. Okay, so I know that we're continuing on the Fiend and Orton topic, but at the same time, we're also touching on different elements of it and different perspectives. So I'm going to try, I promise, to not repeat myself. Okay. As far as the Fiend completely destroying Randy Orton, a squash match, so to speak, I think there's a time and place for squash matches. I think fans would be really pissed about that. I think that fans would be really pissed about it, because what you would gain from here are the pros and cons, right? Let's weigh this out. If that indeed happens, let's look at the pros. The pros are, it gets people talking. It's a buzz right away. People are shocked. Randy Orton got squashed. The last time Randy Orton got squashed in a match was, I believe, SummerSlam when he faced Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar busted him open made him bleed. That was 5-6 years ago now, however long that was. That was the last time Randy Orton got squashed, to my knowledge. It very rarely happens, is my point. But you don't do a squash match at WrestleMania for a program that you've been building for 4 months. You don't do that. I hope they don't go that road. To me, the shock value of that is not worth the downside of just being flat out pissed off that the booking team were too lazy to come up with some actual creative finish. Ironic they call them creative, huh? To come up with a creative finish to this program. To just be all of a sudden, oh yeah, it's a squash. I think people will be really angry, especially those in attendance. They want a good match. They want a good story told. And yes, again, it would create a buzz. People would be talking, blah, 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 all that controversy. Any controversy is good controversy. That old adage that Vince believes. I think fans will lose their mind. Fans will be really angry. And I think it would be damaging to The Fiend more than anything. I think because The Fiend has been associated with several hated scenarios in the past. Losing to Goldberg, people hated that. And the infamous Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell from a couple of years ago. I think it'd be really bad for business if WWE does that. Really bad. All right, let's move on. I believe this is our final email, and then we'll get to those beloved voicemails. And I believe this is from Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. It seems as if people email me or contact me the same time every week because things seem to be happening in the same order every week. I swear none of this is by design. I'm answering things in the order they were received. Okay, I'm like a call center. All right, but Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, of course, I swear, I said this last week. The guy really knows how to start off an email very endearing. He says, I want to start off by saying, what you gonna do, brother, when Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan runs wild on you? All I'm gonna do is sigh, because otherwise I'll swear. He says, it's WrestleMania weekend. It's awesome. I'm super excited for a great weekend of wrestling, bro. Did you know in Vegas, all challengers are the favorites except for Apollo Crews? No. First of all, no, I didn't. I have not looked at the Vegas odds. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting, sir. I'm going to have to check that out. And I never really talk about Vegas, like ever, because it almost never comes up in conversation. But Vegas does have odds on wrestling, and I would look for the last-minute changes. Oftentimes, last-minute money comes in, big money, that changes odds. So, I have not looked at the Vegas odds. So, thank you for bringing that up. Anybody interested in that kind of thing? First of all, I'm not endorsing that you gamble on WrestleMania. It's a very risky thing to do. Even if you think a match is a lock, WrestleMania is one of those ones that could really F you up quick. Okay, so I'm not saying one way or the other, but you make your own decisions. Okay, anyway, Apollo versus Big E is a push. So, meaning a dead heat. At the Royal Rumble, all favorites won, except for Daniel Bryan. Edge had the second best odds. Do you think Vegas will be more right than wrong? Honestly, I could see Roman, Bobby, Riddle, The New Day, Nia, Shayna, Asuka, and Sasha losing their respective matches. But could I see all lose? Probably not, but maybe. Could more lose than retain? I think most likely. What do you think, fam? So, I think Vegas is Vegas for a reason. I think Vegas isn't in the business of losing money, okay? I think, first of all, like I always say, when people come out, you hear stories about people, coming out of casinos and they won a jackpot or, I made so much money on casinos the other night, whatever. Casinos aren't in business because people are making money off them, right? Like casinos are in business because a very, very, very high percentage of people that go into a casino lose money. Okay, so my roundabout way of saying, I think Vegas will be more right than wrong because typically they are. That said, do I think they're going to be all right? No. I could see them being 75% correct. I think, as I'm going to look at these odds. You know what? Let me, while you are, I was going to say while you're on the phone, while everyone is listening, I'm going to pull up the odds as it stands right now and give you my thoughts here. All right. So, let's see here. So here's what the current odds are. I'm just going to give you favorites. Okay, so Drew McIntyre's favorite to beat Bobby Lashley. We have Bianca Belair, favored to beat Sasha Banks. Okay, I feel much more confident in Bianca Belair than I do Drew McIntyre. And I think the odds reflect it. It's a small favorite for McIntyre, a bigger favorite for Bianca. AJ Styles and Omos winning the tag titles, heavy favorite. We have Braun Strowman, a very heavy favorite to beat Shane McMahon. Cesaro, a slight favorite to beat Seth Rollins. Bad Bunny, an incredibly high favorite to beat The Miz. We have, it's nearly a dead heat between Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan. Edge right now is the favorite to win that match. Yeah, Edge right now is the favorite to win, but by just like very slightly. Then Roman, then Daniel. It really comes down to Edge and Roman, I think, ultimately. Rhea Ripley, a solid, very solid favorite to beat Asuka. Apollo Crews and Big E, you got it, brother. A dead heat to win, either men to win. And I feel the same way internally about that match as far as who could possibly win. Kevin Owens, a favorite, a slight favorite over Sami Zayn. And Randy Orton, a massive underdog against The Fiend. So, those are your current odds. Of course, those could change, and I would really be very, very cautious about betting actual money here. So, all right. I was going to give my official casual wrestling fan predictions, but I can't because I'm a casual wrestling fan. So, I'm torn about all the matches that I'm interested in. So, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy some of the industry's best and brightest superstars of the world. Me and the missus are taking a family vacation to Tampa next week. It sucks so bad WWE didn't release tickets until after we booked our vacation. Bummer. That is a huge bummer, man. Oof. Yikes. Although I don't know. Could you actually convince Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan to go? Or would you just go by yourself? I'm curious. I tried to call in to Blog Talk Radio on Tuesday. I heard our review or something didn't work. Will you be on Blog Talk Radio this week? Yes. I addressed that at the beginning of the show. I will be on. I promise. Everything will be up and running for myself and the almighty botch guy from YouTube immediately following the pay-per-view, which, again, probably 20, 30 minutes after the pay-per-view. That's all I got for WrestleMania this week. But remember, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan is up, and he wants the smoke. Just how to just kind of jab it in, don't you? Good God. All right. So let's get to our voicemails here, and let's start out. I believe this is Jeff from the Philippines. So let's get to it, Jeff. What do you got for us?
Hey Matt, this is Jeff from the Philippines. So I just want to say that there are a lot of babyface in WWE that are presented in a unlikable way in terms of their character, of course. Drew McIntyre and Daniel Bryan are supposed to be these fighting champions, and they're going to give title matches to whoever's gonna step up in front of them, and Riddle is just doing this childish things, passing by with a scooter and interrupting Sheamus during a backstage interview, and the New Day are just kept on distracting AJ Styles in his matches. Kofi Kingston throwing a mic on Omos last Monday, making Xavier Woods win by a roll-up, and the Mysterios who kept on interfering in to hand one another a victory, and Asuka is just too cartoonish. She just always say Japanese and some English language. I don't know. I'm a fan of the Japanese culture, but she needs a translator if they want to make her speak some Japanese. If they want to make her speak in Japanese, they need to give her a translator, something like that. And why is Baron Corbin having this King of the Ring gimmick while he's the one who's like taking orders from Bobby Lashley? He's the king, but he's the one who's taking the orders. I just want to see the biker lone wolf gimmick come back. That's all, Matt. Stay safe. Bye.
All right, Jeff. Well, you certainly brought up a lot of examples here about the unlikability of a lot of baby faces that, at least on paper, are cast that way. Again, you could say the same thing for heels, where a lot of them are actually supposedly unlikable, yet they're likable, which, again, it really speaks to the lack of ability to create or dedicate or commit. I think commit to the role for the individual playing that role and for management to see it through. I think that's also a problem, and their inability to understand what fans and people, human beings, admire, don't admire. As things change and the culture changes, what do people admire in the 2021 culture? What do they despise? The basic human elements are the same, but it's tweaked and warped by the culture that exists when you create that character. But a really complicated answer to just say, I agree, okay? I'm with you that, for example, New Day, distracting opponents. Yeah, and he gets a roll-up victory. I mean, that in what world is that babyface? Mysterio's interfering in other people's matches. I think the Mysterio's the most underrated heels of all time in 2020, 2021. I can't stand the Mysterios and all their father-son love and it's my dream to be here with my dad. Shut up, okay? Like I don't care anymore about the Mysterios. I don't. Dominic has been a detriment to the Mysterio family as presentation-wise. Okay, I don't mean to completely dismantle the guy. He is really good in the ring, but the storyline he had going on with Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins for it felt like 800 years, I don't think did anybody any favors. So that was a little harsh. I didn't mean about Dominic defaming his family. I didn't mean it that harshly. I don't know. I'm sick of the lovey-dovey relationship between dad and son, and his dad jumps on his back like, we're at T-ball and his son just hit the winning run or something. It's embarrassing. Okay, Asuka's cartoonish. Does she need a translator? Yeah, I think she does need a translator. You know what would help her even more than a translator? Her learning the English language. Maybe that would make her a little bit more marketable, a little bit more relatable, because she knows 4 phrases, one of which is overused ad nauseum, which is and nobody's ready for Asuka. Okay. Can we just take that out of her vocabulary? I'd rather have her say nothing. But I'd rather have her, rather than a translator, put some time into learning the English language and communicate with the audience that is viewing you the most, that understands English. Okay. The Lone Wolf for Baron Corbin. It's funny. I mentioned this on my show last night that Baron Corbin needs a complete just refresh. And he just needs a shot in the arm. He needs something. The King character is, he's just basically playing a corpse character at this point. The whole, when he won the King of the Ring, I understood it. I got it. And they actually hyped it up. And I appreciate that. I believe he beat Chad Gable in the finals. It was fine. It's exactly what you'd expect a heel to do. And most heels win King of the Ring because it's a heel designed match, just like Money in the Bank is a heel designed match for a heel to win. That's what I mean by that. So, yeah, could he go back to the Lone Wolf? I don't know if he'd go backwards. I think he'd look at that as a demotion. I think he'd rather evolve in a different way. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much, Jeff. Let's keep things going.
My name's Kyle from Baltimore, Maryland. I wanted to talk about the stuff about, Drew McIntyre at this point. His time as champion is gone. I know people like Drew McIntyre, but clearly WWE does not feel the same way. I don't see him winning the title in WrestleMania. I think Bobby Lashley retaining. He just became champion. and I hope he doesn't win at WrestleMania. McIntyre, because again, I just think his time is gone. If he was going to be the champion or remain champion, he would be champion. He would still be champion to this day, like Roman Reigns. Like the two different wrestlers and personalities, but still. So I see Drew McIntyre losing and Lashley retaining. And so, what do you think about that? That's the official call.
Hey, Kyle. Well, what do I think about that? I think that Bobby should retain. I have been of that belief. Now, is that my official prediction? I'm going to leave you to your devices and let you think on your own, and really just a hook for Friday's show. I'm not going to give away all my aces up my sleeve yet, but we've seen Drew McIntyre as champion for the better part of a year. It's time to kind of let him go as champion. Now, does WWE feel that way? Or do they just try to create a formidable opponent for McIntyre at WrestleMania? And all along, they wanted him to regain the championship. They just didn't have anyone around that they could put against him at WrestleMania that would feel like a threat. Because Brock is gone. And Randy's tied up. So did WWE just look around and go, who's left for McIntyre at Mania? And someone's like, well, Bobby's available. And they just made him a beast as best they could over the last couple of months. And done a nice job of it. He's okay on the mic. He's not exactly inspiring. I don't think he's going to win any, public speaking awards. But if this is WWE's plan all along, somebody probably came up with a Bobby Lashley idea, and they just wanted to make it look like Drew's odds of winning are lower than they actually are. So, do I think that it's going to be a Bobby Lashley victory? Odds would say it's a close decision. If you look at the Vegas odds, again, who do I want to win? I want Bobby Lashley to retain, because we've seen the Drew Championship run before. We saw it for the better part of a year. So, you're right. Okay, let's keep things going.
Hey, Matt, it's Kyle from New York. So it's WrestleMania week, so I'm probably going to think of a lot of questions for you once I end this mailbag, but I can only do one. So, WrestleMania week's here, and probably everyone's going to be asking this. You're probably going to have a huge mailbag this week, so I'll try to make this quick. So first off, I don't know if you heard, but supposedly Vince McMahon's considering Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair to main event WrestleMania Night 1, and Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley to be the opening match in Night 1. How do you feel about that? Honestly, I'm okay with it. Also, I've heard that Drew McIntyre said he's actually fine with that. He said he doesn't mind being the opening match, not the main event. So that's cool. And I can't think of anything else to say, but this is way too short of a voicemail for me. So, alright, I'll ask this. Since WrestleMania week, I'm actually kind of wondering this. Since WrestleMania week, what's your favorite WrestleMania ever? What's your favorite WrestleMania moment ever? Also, and also, what do you think is the best Mania ever, and what do you think is the best Mania moment ever? So basically, what I'm saying is, what's your favorite Mania ever, and what do you think is the best one ever, and what's your favorite Mania moment ever, and what do you think is the best moment ever? And also, I'm actually kind of wondering one more question. What was your first ever WrestleMania? Mine was WrestleMania, I think, in 2008. Yeah, 2008. WrestleMania 2008. And, I really couldn't think of anything else to say, which is sad because it's WrestleMania week. There's so much more I probably could say. But I'll probably have a huge mailbag. Sorry, my bad. I'll probably have a huge voicemail, I have to say, after WrestleMania, because there's probably going to be so much stuff that happens at WrestleMania. I'm probably going to have a huge voicemail. So anyway, everyone on this podcast, get hyped for WrestleMania week. And, Matt, I'll talk to you next week. Hope everyone enjoys WrestleMania, and talk to you all soon.
Hey, Kyle. Well, again, to everybody listening, Kyle and Kyle back to back. I know some of you think I have a conspiracy theory going on, whatever. It just happens that they call around the same time every week and leave it in my voice box. And I just download the file and I am just pumping these into my application and answering them. I swear it's not by design. Okay, Kyle, you did have a lot of questions for me, so let's get firing off with those. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, will they main event night one? I don't think they will. Not that I don't think they're deserving of it. And again, this is where it gets a really sticky situation. Well, number one, let me just say this. WWE announced that the main event of night one is going to be Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. They announced it. I heard them say it. So unless there's a last minute decision, a change to the decision, I think that's where they're going. And I don't think it'll be Sasha and Bianca. Now, do I think this storyline is deserving of a main event spot? It's been okay. We have a babyface that can't stand up for herself and thinks that pointing at the WrestleMania sign and being the bigger person, taking the high road, is some sort of ultimate revenge, and that you are basically virtue signaling and you are somehow a better person by not retaliating instead of, standing freaking up for yourself. And we have Sasha Banks, who was playing the babyface. That really was a poor choice, as everyone knows how I feel regarding Sasha Banks being extremely obnoxious. Again, a great attribute if you're a heel, but just a poor babyface. And you throw this together, and a couple of slaps later, a backstabber later, and we have this story. Is this story deserving of a main event of WrestleMania? I don't think it is, based on the storyline. Both women, I love both women. I think they're both ultra talented, but the storyline just hasn't really been there for me because it's been a little bit underwhelming, a little bit unrelatable. Well, as far as being able to vicariously live through one of them, emotional. It's not bad. It's just not WrestleMania main event worthy. Now, that's my opinion. Of course, there's other factors here at play that in 2021 we have to think about. Now, I've already mentioned this, so I'm not going to get into detail because it's a very, very touchy subject. But when you look at the state of the culture right now in the United States, a lot of focus is on women. It's on minorities. Again, politics, I'm getting the hell away from them. I'm not talking about politics in the world. I'm talking about just WWE here. I will just say this. To me, somebody should not be placed in a position that they didn't earn. If it's not done on the merits of their work and their success and their effort, then I don't think somebody should be placed there because of the color of their skin or their gender. I think it should be a fair, equal, across-the-board rule that you earn your spot. It doesn't matter what your gender, what your whatever is today, okay? I don't believe somebody should just get it just to get it as an advantage because they're of the preferred race or gender. I think that's crap, okay? I don't, no matter how it goes, what direction, I know that I'm on a touchy subject here, but how can anyone argue with me that it should not be done on a just completely flat basis, no bias, just based on merit alone? End of subject. Keep all the other stuff out of it because it's poison. So I'll leave it at that. That's as close as to politics as I'm going to talk about. And again, if they main event WrestleMania, will I be mad? No, I won't. I just look at the card and I go, is this really the main event worthy? If the SmackDown Women's Championship wasn't involved, this would become an infinitely less exciting story. But could I see them doing it for the reasons I just mentioned and having somebody crowned a new champion and ending the night one? Yeah, I could. So, okay, I'm going to get in dangerous water. Let's move on. We have your question about my favorite WrestleMania ever. Man, oh man, you're really going to do this to me. This is going to be the most boring answer in the world. The reason it's boring is because it's one of the most beloved WrestleManias of all time. WrestleMania 17 is probably my favorite WrestleMania ever. For the simple fact that it was one of the best main events I've ever seen. and that is Rock versus Austin in Houston, Texas. And the crowd was with every punch, every kick. Austin was back from his surgery. It was the most raucous. Just you have Paul Heyman on commentary, which was an asset. It was awesome. WrestleMania moment ever. Favorite WrestleMania moment ever. Boy, oh boy, you're killing me here. It's like, as Jim also always says, asking me to choose between my kids. Who's my favorite kid? I gotta say probably, and this isn't a moment, but rather a match. WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. Absolutely just breathtaking of a match. From start to finish, it could not have been more perfect. So I don't want to say, it's not really a moment. It's hard to pick out one of those moments. Specific moments that I'm having flashes of. Austin heel turn at WrestleMania 17. Undertaker Triple H at 26. 27 and 28. WrestleMania 27 and 28. Daniel Bryan's win at 30. The Rock Austin Hogan moment at opening WrestleMania 30. Sad that it didn't end in stunners, but those kinds of things are flashing in my brain. Triple H pedigreeing Stephanie. Rock bottoming Stephanie, I believe, is WrestleMania 16, which was dubbed WrestleMania 2000. Those are the moments that come into my mind, and I'm sure there's a zillion more, but WrestleMania 17 is my favorite ever, and for the main event, and of course WrestleMania 25 with Shawn and Taker. Okay, guys, just a few more, and we're going to close things out here.
Hey, Matt, it's Bevan from Australia here. Been a while since I've called in, probably just because I haven't really been enjoying Raw, SmackDown these last few weeks. I don't know. I think titles just across the board have been defended too much, which makes WrestleMania just doesn't seem special to me. I think you mentioned the word empty in your Raw review, and yeah, I feel that too, and it just doesn't have that same, whoa, this is WrestleMania. I just do not feel it at all this year, and that sucks. I think for all the good things WWE have done with the pandemic, we've still been able to have a show. I think the pumping crowd noise and them dictating who's the heel and who's the face has really worn me down. I can't wait for fans to get in there and just tell them how it is, because the storylines have been weak. I know I'm just speaking generally. I'm not a fan of, for instance, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair becoming tag partners in matches prior to their showdown at WrestleMania, and for that matter, Rhea Ripley and Asuka. I just thought, I can't stand it when they pair up two people as a tag team to see how they, work together, and then that there's going to be a falling out. There's got to be a better way of doing this stuff, because I think it's total BS. I hate it. I'm also, sorry, this is a whole rant, isn't it? But here's a little bit of a funny story. I decided last weekend on SmackDown, I watched SmackDown, to have a shot of coffee every single time someone points at the WrestleMania sign. I think you would know as a father that coffee is quite an integral part of your diet when you've got kids. So I did that, and I think I had 6 or 7 in the first hour and a half, and I just stopped. I cut myself off, and I was speaking like the squirrel from Hoodwinked. So my wife was just rolling her eyes. I couldn't sleep for 2 days, man. Could not sleep. I was just wired. So roll on WrestleMania and let's get rid of that sign pointing fiasco. So, but other than that, I hope everyone does enjoy WrestleMania for whatever reason they are looking forward to it for. I'm probably going to watch it from a bit of a distance, and yeah, a bit sad about that. But anyway, hope you guys are well. Take care. Enjoy the show. See ya.
Hey, Bevan. Well, it is certainly good to hear your voice once again on the show. It's been too long. I hope I hear from you next week. I hope I hear from everybody next week, which, while I remember, because I'm going to forget, I always do, I want to plug the number you call for. This is not for the live shows. This is for voicemail. This is for the mailbag. I want to be clear. Our mailbag call-in is 518-952 0247. So please, everyone, feel free to call in with your thoughts, with your rants. Please keep it PG. I don't want to edit out the swearing. I'll be honest, it's just a pain in the ass. It's just from an editing perspective. So try to keep it PG. You can say hell, damn, crap, ass, and keep it to that kind of like PG stuff that you'd maybe say in front of your parents once you're older. Okay, but Bevan, thank you for calling in because you bring up some good points. And yes, the WrestleMania card this year, the feel of it, not even just the card, just the overall feel, it just is it's underwhelming. I mean, you are echoing that. It doesn't feel like WrestleMania. Like if I wasn't told it's WrestleMania, I wouldn't know that it's WrestleMania. I started laughing when you talked about the coffee. Yeah, having kids, certainly. As you know, without coffee, we would be in big, big trouble. No doubt. And I'm glad you did it with coffee and not to, shots of vodka or something like that. And you were awake rather than, passed out drunk or something. So coffee was probably a wiser choice. Maybe next time you can do water and, instead of coffee. But that's hilarious that you did that. You said you got 7 or 8 shots of coffee in the first hour. I believe it. It's incessant. It's ridiculous. It's obnoxious, overdone. I mean, pick your adjective. It's hated. Can we just get rid of the damn WrestleMania sign? Can we just burn it in the middle of the street? Can we just burn the WrestleMania flag or whatever the hell they're flying up there, or the sign that they have, so we can never point to it again? Oh, God. But that's hilarious. I'm glad you did that. It made me laugh while you were talking. As far as your point about pairing up enemies as a tag team, I don't think that's going anywhere. I'm not a fan of it because the ultimate outcome. Either the outcome is one of two things. Always. Either one, that tag team, if they're challenging for a championship, never gets to the championship because there's going to be tension and that there's going to be a miscommunication. Somebody does a hard tag to one person, the other one does a hard tag, and then they end up in a brawl. Or there's a miscommunication. Somebody accidentally hits somebody else, which the announcers will frame as, was that intentional? Was that not intentional? Or option B, they end up winning a championship, being somewhat successful for a short period of time, and then the inevitable breakdown happens. Either way, it is boring, it is predictable, and it should just stop now. I don't need to worry about the chemistry of them as a team. Why? Because you're telling me a story about them as opponents. I'm standing here with a blank face. You guys can't see me. Okay, I know. Just imagine me with a blank face. That's what I'm like, deer in the headlights. I mean, it's that simple. It really is that simple. Maybe I'll start doing video. Hint on my Patreon. I'm going to start. Anyway, more to come on that. So, yeah, it is ridiculous. It's absolutely just ridiculous on so many levels with that too. Just because it's overdone on top of it. If it was, wasn't overdone, I think I wouldn't be so, it's hateful towards it. But overall, look, I hope you enjoy WrestleMania 2. Man, I hope that everyone does. I know that a lot of people's bars are set fairly low, and with good reason. I don't think there's a tangible reason to get super excited about this year's WrestleMania. And I don't even know. I'm going to try to Google it now, so bear with me as you hear me typing. What I'm searching for is WrestleMania 37 sold out. Fans emerging. Let's see. No, it's not. Almost. So it's not sold out yet. 3 days before WrestleMania is not sold out. Amazing. That WrestleMania is not sold out. I think a lot of it has to do with fear. Maybe fear of the pandemic. Also, the fact that the ticket prices are through the roof. So it's just amazing, though. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm just reading a little bit of a article here, but WrestleMania is not sold out. That's striking. That WrestleMania is not sold out, given the fact that, yeah, they did give them a couple of weeks of lead time, and there are excuses to be made, but I want fans just as bad as everyone there. That is, honestly, guys, if you're not excited about anything else on the card, you should be excited about fans being back, human beings being back in the arena, in the stadium, to voice their opinion that they've been keeping quiet for a year. That's why I don't think the fear of people being quiet will be realized at WrestleMania. You have people spending hundreds or thousands of dollars to get here, to maybe go for 2 nights, which, by the way, you have to buy 2 separate tickets to do, to spend multiple nights in Tampa for food, for entertainment, for airfare, for possibly, 1 or 2 of their friends or family, or maybe even solos expensive, to get the expensive drinks and the food at the arena, to buy the merchandise. I mean, you're talking a lot of money, guys. And that's why I don't believe that these people that are that adamant, that are that passionate, that love the product this much, to travel to Tampa for a card that is not overwhelming and is lacking star power severely, is going to be sitting on their hands quiet like good little schoolgirls. Okay? I think the fans are going to be loud, as they should be. I hope that they aren't blinded by the excitement of being back at a live event out of their homes for the first time in over a year, back in a live event at WrestleMania, and they're not blinded by that happiness and joy where they don't express their otherwise disgust with what's going on, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want them to cheer for somebody that, if it wasn't because of the pandemic, they would otherwise boo, right? I don't want the masking of the pandemic and the excitement of getting out there being masked by what they really feel. So that's what I'm hopeful the fans are. I think they will be. I think they'll give WWE a piece of their mind, and I hope they don't pump in crowd noise like, just trying to play God like they have over the last year. So, all right, guys, that is it for the Mailbag Show. We've got a ton more content coming this week. You already know our schedule, so buckle in. Things are just about to get ramped up for actual WrestleMania. Excuse me. And as I said, Botch Guy is joining me both Saturday night and Sunday night for a live show on Blog Talk Radio. Go follow us on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be going live shortly after WrestleMania ends on both nights, taking your calls if people call in. If not, cool. Again, on Friday night, I never record on Friday night. That's always a night I look forward to, because it's just the night I can just not have to do anything. But it's WrestleMania weekend, and Anthony DeMarco and Mimi are going to be with me together recording a show for WrestleMania, preview and predictions, the whole deal, and that'll be a blast. So don't forget, guys, follow us on Instagram at WWE_podcast, on Twitter at Wrestling_audio, where during the pay-per-view you can watch my live reactions as I see it happen on Twitter at Wrestling_audio. That's going to be a blast to do as well, and hear reactions and be able to interact immediately with the listeners. So, here we go, guys. Things are now about to get real. Hope everyone is enjoying their day, and I will talk to you very soon.